Today we're going to be talking about skin cancer and melanoma. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the different types of skin cancer and melanoma, how to detect it, how to prevent it, and also what causes it. So if you have not done the pre-test or watched the video, please pause the video at this time and do so. Once that's completed, go ahead and restart the video. So 1 in 4 deaths result from cancer. That's all forms of cancer. In terms of melanoma, 1 person dies every hour from melanoma. This is a preventable disease, and there's no reason for someone to die every hour from a preventable disease. You're going to hear me use skin cancer and melanoma separately. These are really 2 different types of diseases. Skin cancer is the most commonly diagnosed form of cancer. It comes in 2 forms, basal and squamous cell. Basal cell, there's 2 to 3 million people a year diagnosed with it. And squamous cell is the one that tends to be more invasive. Both of these tend not to be deadly, but they can be. Malignant melanoma is one that is a deadly, aggressive form of cancer. Both of these can be prevented, and hopefully you'll learn some information in this presentation that will allow you to prevent yourself from being diagnosed with skin cancer or melanoma. So what to look for? In terms of basal cell, it'll tend to be a waxy spot. Maybe it'll have some raised ridges, or it'll be a spot that won't heal. So normally when you get a wound, you'll get a scab, it'll heal up, the scab will come off, and you'll have pink skin underneath that'll eventually go away and you'll forget about it. If there is a problem that you should see a doctor about, it's going to be a spot that opens up continually and doesn't fully heal. So it might look like it healed, and then it opens back up again. Squamous cell is also a wound that won't heal, but tends to have a little bit drier look to it. It will also form what's called a horn, as you can see forming on the ear to your right. Squamous cell tends to be more invasive and is one that tends to metastasize more than basal cell. Malignant melanoma is a very deadly, aggressive cancer, but it's also one that's a little bit harder to detect because it will mimic one of the moles that you might have on your body. So in order to detect skin cancer and melanoma, it's recommended that you do a monthly skin check. When you do the monthly skin check, you should look for the A, B, C, D, and E. Now, if you see any one of these, does not mean that you have melanoma, but it's something that you should go see a doctor to get checked. Preferably a dermatologist, since that's all they deal with is skin. But if you can't see a dermatologist, then your primary care physician should take a look at it. So A stands for asymmetrical. Now, normally your moles are going to be such that if you fold it in half, one half matches the other. If it's asymmetrical, you're going to have one half that does not match the other. Again, this does not mean that you have melanoma. There is such a thing as atypical mole formations. Some people just form them that way, but this is something for a doctor to determine. The next one is borderless. So your mole should have a smooth, distinct line surrounding it. So you should be able to tell where the skin ends and the mole begins. If it's borderless, it could be a couple different things. One could be like a smudge, so it fades into your skin. Picture having some paint on your finger and running it down the wall. It goes from dark to light and fades away. You should be able to see exactly where the mole ends. It should not fade into your skin. The other one is going to be some rough edges or some tendrils coming out from the mole. Picture dropping a drop of water on the desk. The rough edges around the splash of the drop or the little splash marks coming out. This is not how your mole should look. The next one is color change. Your moles should be one solid color. So it could be flesh colored, pink, light tan, dark tan, or black. But it'll be one solid color. You're not going to have part of it that is tan and part of it that's black. The next one is diameter. Your mole should not be bigger than 1/4 of an inch. Now, most of us cannot estimate a 1/4 inch diameter. So if you don't have a Taylor's tape measure, one of those cloth tape measures, then your pencil eraser is about 1/4 of an inch. If you're to put it over the mole and the mole goes beyond the size of the eraser, then that's something for a doctor to take a look at. The last one is evolving. Now this is one where if you do not do your monthly skin checks, you're not going to know something is changing. Because evolving is something that's new or has changed. So it could be a new spot, or it could be a spot that changes in shape, size, or color. Or maybe it used to be flat and now it's elevated. There are two more that are not listed on here that are important. One is itching. So if you have a mole that continually itches, and this is something that might happen every day or throughout the day, and it's not itching for any particular reason. The other one is bleeding. Your mole should not break open and bleed for no reason. Again, if you notice any of these, then go see a doctor, dermatologist preferred, or primary care if you cannot see a dermatologist. Any one of these does not mean that you have melanoma, but it's good to get it checked out. So as mentioned, melanoma is the deadliest form of skin cancer. It is the leading cause of cancer deaths in women 25 to 30. To put this in perspective, these are young women who are just graduating from college, starting their life, starting their career, maybe starting a family. And they're dying from a cancer that is preventable. It's the second leading cause of death in women 30 to 45. This is around your mother's ages. And for men, this is the most commonly diagnosed cancer under the age of 49. A lot of men have spent a lot of time outside without shirts on and getting a lot of exposure to UV, which we'll cover here in a little bit. For individuals 15 to 29, melanoma is the second most commonly diagnosed cancer. Skin cancer and melanoma used to be known as an old person's cancer. So it's a cancer that from lifetime exposure to ultraviolet radiation. But unfortunately, we're seeing younger people being diagnosed with and dying from this cancer. And melanoma does not discriminate. It doesn't discriminate by according to age, race, or gender. If you have skin, you get skin cancer or melanoma. Now granted, somebody with fair skin is at higher risk than somebody with dark skin, but if you have skin, you can get it. Melanoma isn't just on the skin. It can form in places that you wouldn't think about. There is an ocular melanoma, and often the treatment for ocular melanoma is the removal of the eye. It could also form on your scalp, in your mouth. I've heard of it inside the sinus cavities and inside the ear canals. It can also form on the soles of your feet, the palms of your hands, and underneath your fingernails. The palms of your hands, soles of your feet, and fingernails are places where people with darker skin tones tend to form theirs. Anybody can form it there, but that's where people with darker skin tones tend to form their melanoma. So many people know Bob Marley. He died at the age of 36. A lot of people thought that he died from a drug overdose, but he actually died from melanoma. He had it in his big toe. He thought he had injured it playing soccer. And if anybody has played sports or gotten their finger caught in a door, you've probably gotten that blood area underneath your fingernail that slowly grows out and goes away. If you have melanoma underneath your fingernail, it'll either be a dark spot that doesn't move, or it's a streak, as you see on this slide, that doesn't end. If you injure the nail bed, you might get a streak in your nail, but it'll eventually heal up and you'll have a clear nail. If it's melanoma, it will not go away. Now, as mentioned, people with darker skin tones, this is where you form yours. And unfortunately, melanoma tends to be deadlier for people with darker skin tones because of the fact they think they can't get it. So they often don't look for the signs. And so it's not found until it's metastasized into one of their organs. This young gentleman here played for the University of Kentucky. He was only 20 or 21 when he was diagnosed with melanoma. He thought that he had a blood blister or a plantar wart on the bottom of his foot. They checked it out, did a biopsy, and it came back as melanoma. He was actually diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, had to go through several surgeries and a year's worth of immune therapy, which is very similar to chemotherapy. He did manage to come back to play football for Kentucky, but this is something that he got from many years of exposure to sun while he was out there playing football. Whitney Carson is a dancer on Dancing with the Stars. She does have a family history of melanoma, which increases her chance of getting melanoma. Her family encouraged skin checks, and she noticed a discoloration on her foot. She was diagnosed with melanoma at the age of 22. They did surgery, and she was told that if she would have waited just 3 weeks, she would have had to do more than just surgery. She would have had to do chemotherapy treatment. This is a fast-moving cancer, so it's important if you see something to get it checked as soon as possible. As I mentioned, ultraviolet radiation is a cause of skin cancer. It is a carcinogen. It's also cumulative. So the UV you've had up to this point in your life will never leave your body. It is important for you to start limiting your exposure to ultraviolet radiation, and that will be covered here in a little bit. We know that 90% of all skin cancers are contributed to UV exposure. The other 10% is genetics. So UV can be natural from the sun. We get exposed to the sun a lot more than we realize. If you drive in a car, even with tinted windows, if it's not polarized, you are being exposed to ultraviolet radiation. It is blocking the light, but it's not blocking the radiation. You also get exposed if you sit by the window in a classroom, at home, or even if you're sitting underneath an umbrella by the pool. It can reflect off of the water. UV could also be artificial. So it can come from tanning lamps and gel manicure lamps. Now, we don't know the full extent of gel lamps on skin cancer at this point, but we are starting to see cases of young women being diagnosed with melanoma underneath their fingernails. We will not know the true causality probably for another 10-15 years, but it's our suggestion that you limit the UV exposure that you get. So our suggestion is that if you want to have a gel nail polish type finish on your nails, that you do the powder or dip, but avoid UV exposure on your hands. If you must get the gel nail polish because that's what you want, please put sunscreen on your hands, but our suggestion is to avoid it altogether. So to show the impact of ultraviolet radiation on your skin, this is a truck driver. He drove a truck his whole life. As you can see, the left side of his face looks about 10 years older than his right side of his face. This is all from sun exposure through the side of his cab. This is also an example of sun exposure. As you can see, the twin on the right looks older than the twin on the left. These are genetically identical women, but the difference is that one lives in Florida and gets a lot of exposure to sun. Now, we're not here to scare you away from going outside. I was diagnosed with melanoma over 8 years ago, and I still go out into the sun, but I protect myself from UV. Because we are designed to need the sun. We need the sun for vitamin D production, but what I do is I tend to eat foods that are higher in vitamin D, such as eggs and mushrooms and other vegetables. But we also need it for our mood. So exposure to the sun, ultraviolet radiation, does cause the release of serotonin in our bodies, which help with our mood. You may notice in the winter, people tend to be a little bit more down than they are in the summer. That's because of the less exposure to the sun due to the shorter days. There's also, in northern Alaska, where they won't see the sun for several months, higher cases of depression and psychosis during that time. So we need the sun. We just have to be careful about protecting ourselves from the harms of exposure to the sun, such as suntan, sunburn, premature aging, liver spots, wrinkles. Some of these things, they try to sell lotion to you later in life to undo. You can prevent them from happening by protecting your skin now. There is no benefit to tanning beds. If you were to ask a person at a tanning bed place what the benefits are of using a tanning bed, they'll tell you that it'll help you with your mood, skin conditions, and give you vitamin D. But that does not outweigh the dangers of using a tanning bed. There is absolutely none that can be gained from the fact that it will greatly increase your chance of getting melanoma and dying. So worldwide, there are more cases of skin cancer from indoor tanning than lung cancer from smoking. Part of that is people have realized the dangers of smoking, and there's a lot less smoking, even before vaping became popular. Unfortunately, indoor tanning has become very popular. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it would be tough to drive down any major road in Fort Smith without passing 1, 2, or 3 tanning bed places. The World Health Organization has put the tanning bed lamps into the highest carcinogen category. It's in the same category as tobacco and other products such as plutonium and radium. Most of us tend to give plutonium and radium a very wide berth. We don't want to be anywhere near it. But chances are right now there's somebody laying in a tanning bed somewhere in Fort Smith. You'll often hear somebody say that they're just going to get a base tan, that they see nothing wrong with getting a base tan. Remember, UV is cumulative, so every single time your skin changes color, it shows that exposure to UV. A base tan does not protect you from getting a burn. It only provides you an SPF or sun protection factor of about 3. So there is no safe tan. All you're doing is increasing the level of UV in your body and increasing your chance of getting skin cancer or melanoma. And some countries have seen that tanning beds are so dangerous that they have banned commercial tanning. Brazil is one of them. Australia and England has either done it or are getting close to banning them. It's also very expensive to treat people with melanoma. Melanoma is a lifelong diagnosis. Many other cancers, after about 10 years, you're considered cured. With melanoma, you're only considered as no evidence disease because it's very hard to detect. So this means that for the rest of your life, you would have to deal with a cancer diagnosis. Often this can mean spending $5,000 or more out of your own pocket for tests and doctor's appointments. And if you have to go through treatment, it can cost anywhere from $20,000 up to hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your pocket. Insurance does not cover everything. Also, it should be noted that melanoma is one of the few cancers that has been seen to be passed from mother to child in utero. So we're actually seeing, in rare cases, children being born with melanoma. Also, once you're diagnosed with melanoma, you can never donate your organs or blood because you can pass melanoma onto other people who would be immune suppressed. So are you at risk? There are several risk factors. If you have more than 50 moles, if you have fair skin, if you have family history. Another risk is if you get one blister sunburn before the age of 20. This will double your chance of getting melanoma. Each time you get a blistered sunburn, which is a burn that is severe enough that it causes a raised area of skin, much like if you touch a hot pan, or it'll cause peeling later. And a single use of a tanning bed increases your chance of getting melanoma by 20%, squamous cell by 67%, and basal cell by 29%. That's just a single use. If you use it occasionally, you could triple your chance of getting melanoma, and this may be only before spring break, maybe before prom, maybe before a wedding, or if you're just starting to feel a little bit pale during the winter. If you use it once a week or more often, then I've seen this number to be upwards of 10 to 15 times your chance of getting skin cancer or melanoma. There is no safe way to use a tanning bed, and they should be avoided. Now, many of us have been teenagers before who are in talking to you about this, and we know you may not listen and think that it's not going to happen to you. The thing is that treatment for melanoma and skin cancer can be very disfiguring. The pictures with multiple people in it are ones that were diagnosed with basal cell. They either burn the spots off your skin or they do what's called a Mohs surgery, where they dig down and out until they get what's called a clear margin. So they'll keep on taking away layers of skin until they get one that has no cancer cells in it. And doctors are not concerned about how you look like after you get done. They're more concerned about getting rid of that cancer. So while you may think you look good now with that tan, you may end up with a scarred face, arms, or legs, which are areas where it's most commonly diagnosed. The pictures of the gentleman and the woman with part of her forehead gone were diagnosed with melanoma. For melanoma, they take a larger section of skin to make sure they get all the cancer cells. When I was diagnosed, they took a 9 by 4 centimeter section out of my back. I now have an 8-inch scar. Fortunately, mine was on my back, so no one could see it. But again, chances are it's going to form on your face, your arms, your legs, areas that are commonly exposed to the sun. So while you might think you look good now, how will you look with part of your face removed in order to treat the melanoma? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it over to Amy, who's going to talk to you about how to protect yourself from the sun and UV radiation.
All right, thanks, Carrie. So my name is Amy. I'm the outreach coordinator at the Reynolds Cancer Support House, and I'm going to talk to you about some very simple ways that you can prevent skin cancer and melanoma. We're going to talk first about how to prevent it outside from that UV radiation from the sun. And it's a program we have called Being Sun Smart. So SMART is an acronym. Some very simple things you can do to make those healthy choices to protect your skin. So the first one is S. And let me say too, this is important year-round. But it's especially important in the summer. You spend more time out in the sun in the summertime. UV is higher in the summertime. You're typically in the water where that UV reflects, and so you get it more strongly. So very important in the summertime. Even important on a cloudy day. UV rays will come through the clouds. But really important to do it year-round. So S, slip on a hat, t-shirt, and sunglasses. S, or slip on sun protective clothing. S is the first letter in SMART, but I would say this is the most important thing you could do. The easiest, most important thing you can do is the S, to slip on that sun protective clothing. So a hat, of course, is going to protect your head, your scalp. Wide brim hat is what we recommend. Of course, a baseball cap works, but a wide brim is going to provide more protection for more of your head. T-shirt, slip on a t-shirt. Plain cotton t-shirt works. They do make clothing that has that UPF, that ultraviolet protection factor in it. You can find it at sporting goods stores pretty much year-round. A lot of, wear you wear fishing, swimwear, a lot of times we'll have it in nowadays. Even in the spring, summer, when that summer merchandise comes out, you can find it places like Target and Old Navy. So you can buy that. A lot of times those are made to be worn in the water. They're made with special material to help wick sweat away. So t-shirt clothing, cover up your skin that way. Great way to protect your skin. And then, of course, sunglasses will protect your eyes. We recommend polarized sunglasses because that's going to provide the full UV protection versus just shade for your eyes. So S is sun protective clothing. Most important thing, do that first, foremost. M is move into the shade. Moving into the shade does provide some additional UV protection. Of course, from a tree, you take your umbrella to the beach or a canopy, under shade protection provided at a pool or a park. That's going to provide another layer of protection. In and of itself, it's very minimal protection, so be sure you're doing everything else here we talk about. And then A is to apply your sunscreen. Applying your sunscreen, very important. But when you slip on that S, the sun protective clothing, you're covering a lot of your skin, so you may not have to apply sunscreen as many places. But when you do apply sunscreen, and you should, a couple things to remember. One is you want that to be SPF, that sun protection factor, or that number on the bottle should be 30 or higher. You want one that's water resistant, especially if you're going to be in the water, but I say just buy the water resistant anyhow. And then when you apply it, if a lot of your skin's exposed, you're not wearing sun protective clothing, say you're wearing your bathing suit and you're not wearing a swim shirt or some kind of cover-up, you need about an ounce of sunscreen. So that means fill it in the palm of your hand, and don't forget your back, your shoulders, your ears, bridge of your nose, tops and bottoms of your feet, back of your knees, and then make sure you rub it in your hands when you're done. Don't just simply wash it away on your hands. So apply your sunscreen. Then the R is to reapply your sunscreen. So most folks pretty good about applying their sunscreen before they go out, especially if you know you're going to be outside for a long period of time. But you forget. You get out, you have fun, and you go a couple hours and you never reapply your sunscreen, you're going to end up with that sunburn. You don't reapply your sunscreen, you're not wearing your sun protective clothing, you're going to end up with a sunburn. So you want to reapply your sunscreen every few hours, about once an hour. Especially if you're getting wet or you're sweating. You can go maybe a little longer if you're staying relatively dry. So set a timer on your phone, and that means get out, dry off, reapply the sunscreen everywhere. and then let it sit for a few minutes before you get back in the water. So you can set a timer on your phone to remind yourself after about an hour. There are products you can buy, stickers, bracelets. You put sunscreen on it when you apply, and it will actually change color to remind you when it's time to reapply. We have some of those at the support house, so if you ever need one, give us a call. Or I have seen them places like Walmart in the past, especially the stickers or the one-time use bracelets. We have silicone bracelets at the Cancer Support House. And then the Tea and Sun Smart is tell your friends. Now that you have all the information, share it with your friends and let them know how to be sun smart. Few words about sunscreen. I've talked about the importance of the 30 or higher, water resistant, reapply. There have been things in the news where there's concern over the chemicals getting into your bloodstream. If that is something you are concerned about, then buy and use physical sunscreens. So, of course, we talked about that as sun protective clothing, the most important thing you can do. There's still going to be some of your skin exposed, like your face, your hands, even the back of your neck and your ears, even if you're wearing a hat. If you're going to be out in the sun for a long period of time where you want to still wear sunscreen. So buy one that is what's called a mineral-based sunscreen, where their active ingredients are the titanium dioxide or the zinc oxide. And you can see here listed some of these big words under chemical sunscreen, maybe some of those things that you maybe want to avoid if that's a concern. But please don't let that concern keep you from protecting your skin. You need to protect your skin, so use those physical sunscreens. Then we'll talk about how to protect your skin from UV radiation indoors. You've heard about the facts. Carrie's talked to you, given you lots of information about what skin cancer is, what melanoma is, and what to look for. And we've talked about the grave danger of using indoor tanning beds and how that can greatly increase your risks of developing skin cancer and melanoma. Even the very occasional use. And so there may be some of you that have used, or you just use it, what you say, very occasionally. Use it for prom, I use it for spring break, I use it in January only when I feel really pale. But even using it that infrequently can increase greatly your chances of developing melanoma. So we really encourage you to not use tanning beds. So if you've never used a tanning bed, you never plan to, great, you're making a healthy decision. You've used them before, I really encourage you to take some consideration and make a choice to make a healthy decision to not use tanning beds in the future and protect your skin. So those of you who want to make that pledge and say, yes, I'm going to make healthy choices to protect my skin. You make healthy choices in other ways. You don't smoke, you eat right, you sleep, you get good sleep, you drink enough water a day, you make healthy choices in relationships. This is just another healthy choice that you can make. So you can say you're doing that by signing our tanning pledge form. So if you so what you want to do is pause the video and go to number 4, the tanning pledge form. Read each section by section. Complete section 3 by either saying, yes, I'm signing the pledge, or no, you're not signing the pledge. You don't have to, but it's just a way for you to say, yes, I'm going to do that. And then just fill in your initials, date, and the school that you attend. So if you will just pause this now and go take care of that, and then when you actually are done with the tanning pledge, you can go ahead and do number 5. That's the post-test form. So do the tanning pledge and the post-test form by pressing pause now, and then come back where I'm going to talk just a little bit to you more about the Reynolds Cancer Support House. All right, so thank you for taking the time to complete that pledge and the post-test. I just wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about the Reynolds Cancer Support House. We provide free non-medical support services for cancer patients and their families. We're located in Fort Smith, right behind Creekmore Park, but as you can see, we serve the 14 county surrounding area. So it includes places like Van Buren and Alma, over in Topoto, and Pecola over in Oklahoma. So typically folks who live in these communities travel to Fort Smith for cancer treatment. And so that is why That's what defines our service area. We serve over 5,000 individuals a year. So our free services really do three things. Number one, they eliminate barriers to treatment. So we can help people with gas cards, help with the cost of transportation to get to and from treatment. We can help with food vouchers, help people pay for groceries. Cancer can be very expensive. And so we can help connect to financial resources to help pay for co-pays, or maybe even to help pay for things like rent and utilities, so that finances don't get in the way of folks getting the cancer treatment that they need. Secondly, our services improve the quality of life during and after treatment. So wigs, hats, and turbans for folks who have lost their hair because of cancer treatment. Support groups provide some emotional support for folks who have anxiety, stress, worry because of their cancer diagnosis. Liquid nutrition, like Boost and Ensure, so people can keep their nutrition up. People can lose their appetites, have trouble eating, have lots of side effects, and that can cause further health complications for folks who are taking cancer treatment. So we can help support their nutritional health that way. We have other medical supplies, other kind of feel-good, exercise classes. Exercise actually is great even when you're still in cancer treatment. Helps make cancer treatment more effective, helps fight things like fatigue, pain, neuropathy. And then finally, our services, we provide community outreach, education, and screenings. So that's really what we're doing here today. Educating the community about cancer, ways to prevent it, and even providing some free screening opportunities. We serve all people, all ages, all cancers, all stages. So men, women, children, any cancer diagnoses, eligible for our free services at the Reynolds Cancer Support House. So we serve over 5,000 people a year, but we don't charge for our services, so how do we do that? Volunteers is a big way we're able to do that. Carrie's a volunteer who helps with our education and outreach activities. We have volunteers that come help register new patients, fit for wigs, help deliver our services. Funding-wise, we get some funding from our local hospitals. We get some grant funding. People give donations and memorials. And then we have two major fundraising events where we raise funds. Wine and Roses is our wine and art auction that takes place in the spring of every year. And then Survivors Challenge is our 5K, 10K celebration walk, and that takes place in October of every year. Those two major fundraising events raise over half of our operating revenue each year. So how can you help? There are ways that young folks can get involved in our programs. If you're in a service group at school and you're looking for a service project, keep us in mind. We can always collect things like the Ensure and Boost, those liquid nutritional supplements you can see in that top picture there. We give away thousands of bottles of that a year, and we really couldn't do it without donations from the community. $10 gift cards to Walmart or a gas station, that's what we give to help people pay for the cost of gas to get to and from treatment. Little goodies for our chemo goodie bags that we give away at local cancer treatment centers. Puzzle books, peppermints, Kleenexes, lotions, lip balms, toothbrush, things that really kind of help people in cancer treatment feel better. You know, when you go take cancer treatment, you're typically there for a long time. So those puzzle books or coloring books help people pass the time while they're taking their treatments. Peppermints to help ease stomach pain, lotions and lip balms to help, with dry skin. That is a very common side effect of cancer treatment. Bottled water, paper towels, toilet paper. When people donate those items, then we don't have to use our fundraise dollars to purchase those. We can keep them towards services. We have our kids program, Kids Kicking Cancer. We're looking for sponsors to help with activities, to sponsor meals, to help sponsor our parties. We try to do seasonal parties. Fundraising. There's sponsorship opportunities. There's volunteer opportunities, especially with our Survivors Challenge event in October of every year. School groups really are big in helping us along the course, helping set up, helping do things the day of that event. So if you are interested at all in learning more about our wish list or getting involved in our events, you can email me at amy, A-M-Y, @reynoldscancersupporthouse.org, or give us a call at 479-782-6302. If you have any questions about anything you've heard today, you can email me, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. I want to say a special thanks to Carrie and the River Valley Skin Cancer Alliance for making this program possible. And we're glad that we were able to, we really enjoy our times coming to the schools and presenting, but we're glad that we're still able to offer this to schools and to students, even in a virtual setting. So thank you for your time and your attention, and we hope you all have a great day.